I call the member Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair, and thank you. It's a good time to be talking about this bill because indeed my colleague Jacinda Ardern is correct. It is multiple birth week, this week. So they'd say that timing is everything, and I hope that that will certainly be something that the government will take into account when it considers this bill because, Mr Chair, the member Jacinda Ardern is absolutely right. This clause 4 is the purpose of this bill. So this is the really meaty part of the bill, I guess, and I hope, because I know that there's been an adjournment in this debate, and people might not recall, but I think there was, last time round, there was a lot happening in the discussion around this. There was a lot of talking from the government benches about what they thought about paid parental leave, and I hope that will continue tonight, because it is a very important issue, Mr Bishop, and I'm looking forward to the many contributions from the government benches again tonight on this issue, because yes, it is the Labour Party's firm view and my firm view as the promoter of this bill that 26 weeks for all families that are eligible for paid parental leave is absolutely what we should have in this country. And we know that because other OECD countries have at least that. And as we stand at the moment, we are languishing at the bottom of the OECD when it comes to duration of paid parental leave. And if you combine that also, Mr Chair, with the level of payment that is afforded in other countries for the weekly payment for paid parental leave, then we're looking even worse on that front. But this bill doesn't, this clause in this bill doesn't attempt to address the payment part of it, but it does attempt to address the duration part. Now, the purpose, and I outlined a little bit of this at question time today, but the purpose is simply this. The research and evidence is overwhelming about what we would get to gain as a society if we were to invest, not see it as a cost, but invest in those early months of a child's life. Because that is where the smart money is, Mr Chair. That's what internationally we now know, that if we invest a little bit in ways such as extending paid parental leave to 26 weeks, then we can make a huge difference in the outcomes of those children's lives. And that's because the research and evidence tells us that getting the bonding and attachment right between parent and child in those early months is critical. Critical to that child's brain development and critical to the course of the rest of their life. So there is evidence that supports and tells us that if we get that right at the beginning, that child is less likely to need taxpayer money spent on remedial education, for example. They are much less likely to have anything to do with our youth justice system. They are much less likely to have those sort of the costs that our society bears when things go wrong. And that's what this is really about. This is about building a society where we have children who are well supported from day one. We also know, and again the research and evidence is overwhelming on this issue, that if we can support exclusive breastfeeding through to 6 months of age, then that child is much less likely to end up with health problems. Now, that's a good outcome if they don't suffer the health problems. It's a good outcome for them and their family, but it's actually a good outcome for the rest of us as well, because we don't end up putting taxpayer funding into hospital and health services to support issues that we didn't get right in those early months. And that's what this is about. This is a forward-looking bill that is actually progressive in terms of saying a little bit of investment at the beginning, save ourselves not only a lot of heartache, but a lot of cost as a country further on down the track. And don't we all want to live beside well-nurtured, well-rounded, productive citizens? Because all the research and evidence says if we can extend paid parental leave, ideally to 12 months, but we believe in the Labour Party that right now it is affordable to, in a staggered way, get to 26 weeks, that's what should be afforded to all families. But, Mr Chair, it has become clear over the course of the, I'd say, 2 years, 2 years, 3 months, thank you, that we have been debating this issue, because this bill was drawn out in Easter 2012 Easter. And here we are in the committee stages, Mr Chair.
Sue Moroney.
Mr Chair, we are now reaching, this is where the rubber starts to hit the road. It's become absolutely apparent in those 2 years and 3 months that the government just has no interest in supporting families in this way. That they have no interest in supporting and actually prioritising families in order to get 26 weeks paid parental leave. Yes, this bill, this brave little bill, has actually had some success because it has forced the government to extend paid parental leave initially to 16 weeks, which we're yet to see, but it should be happening next year, and then to 18 weeks. But what they've done is they've had a political solution to what is a human problem. They've found what they think is a political solution to it. But that political solution doesn't address the research and evidence that I've already alluded to. It doesn't support exclusive breastfeeding to 6 months. It doesn't work to make sure that that bonding and attachment is well developed in that critical first 6 months. It doesn't do those things that we know make the critical difference. So I'm acknowledging that. I'm acknowledging that the government now has the numbers to completely kill this bill and kill off the hopes and aspirations and dreams of those who are parents now, those who are pregnant now and about to become parents, and those who will become parents in the future. It's not only that group of people though, it's the grandparents that I actually find are often the most passionate about this issue because they want to see their grandchildren get this benefit and grow up in this way. So I've acknowledged that, and I've brought forward a new proposal because I said right from the outset that I would be determined to do the very best that we could do for families. So my idea is this: for families where there is a multiple birth, for families where there is a premature birth, for families where there is a child born with a disability, those are the families most in need, Mr Chair. And my proposal is that the 26 weeks paid parental leave in 2 staggered stages be made available to those families. Because it is those families, I think, who suffer the largest amount of financial pressure. They therefore suffer the most pressure to get back to work and earn money in order to support their family at a time where it may not be the best thing for their family. And so that is the proposal that I've brought for the government to consider today. I want to thank all the support parties who have already indicated to me that they will support that course of action, because actually it's for the parties who have supported this bill all the way through its passage. This is not the ideal outcome, and I think we all know that, but we want to try and secure something that will make a difference for families, and families that are in high levels of need. Mr Speaker, Mr Chair, I became convinced of this upon hearing the many submissions that we heard through Select Committee. I think we had just under 4,000 submissions, not all of them were oral, but 99.6% of those submissions were in favour of 26 weeks paid parental leave for all. Not for this narrower group, albeit very well-deserving group that I'm now proposing this bill cover. So one of the submissions that really sticks in my mind, it's stayed in my mind throughout this journey, has been the submission made in Auckland by a woman by the name of Danelle Ballinger-Taylor, who told us her story about having her twins. I'm probably going to run out of time to tell her story, so I'm going to share that with you a little bit later on. But let me say this, because I think this probably says it all. When I looked around the room that day when she made her submission, I'm pretty sure there was not a dry eye in the room. And I believe that included the officials, and that takes some doing. But her story is indicative of about 2,800 families every year who face the same scenario. And so, Mr Chair, that is what my amendment is aiming to do. I hope that the government will think about this seriously, because it is a genuine attempt to make the lives better of a group of people in our society who really do need that support. We will all benefit when they benefit. and I hope the government will take heed of that.
Chair.